The game the industry refuses to make.
I want to talk about this idea of what games should be. See, because I have the self awareness to realize that I spend more time criticizing games and the industry than I do celebrating it. And that's not because I don't love games. I love games. It's what I talk about more than anything else.
I think most people nowadays are like that. I am definitely like that. You probably also consume a ridiculous amount of content that's negative about gaming. Well, honestly, I would personally call Ubisoft getting what they deserve as positive for gaming, not negative. But maybe that's just me, okay? But yeah, there's so many examples of just bad games, poorly done things in gaming that it's really easy to just point out. At this moment, you can close your eyes, throw a dart, and you're probably landing on some slop right there. And when the good stuff comes, well, we rarely talk about it because I don't know about you, but I just typically play the good stuff.
It's because the industry, by and large, does not live up to my expectations. They're not doing what I know they're capable of, what you know they're capable of, but everybody knows they're capable of. See, because I think all of us, regardless of age or experience, are holding on to the idea of a dream game, quietly hoping every next release is going to be that game. And it rarely ever happens. And that's not because there's a lack of talent in the industry. It's not because there's a lack of resources, imagination, and we sure as hell know that it's not for a lack of money. It's because there are too many studios that are out there that are focused on the outcomes rather than the experience. And if you're only thinking about what your work can lead to rather than the work itself, how are you going to make a good video game?
Confusing? The outcome is pretty important, okay? You, you can't just take a lot of good things and not think about the outcome and have something that succeeds. That's not how life works, okay? Uh, if I know that doing push-ups is good. If I do 10 push-ups, but my math test score doesn't magically improve because I did a good thing with push-ups. Outcomes matter. Outcomes matter a lot. You need to know the goal you are striving for. You can't just do random gobbledygook and expect it to lead to the greatest outcomes in things that are not even remotely close to it.
Recently, I played Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2 back to back. And without exaggerating, this is one of the greatest gaming experiences I've ever had. I recommend.
Okay, boys, I have upgraded my Kingdom Come Deliverance position, okay? So, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has a lot of woke things actually in it. And I didn't play it. I asked people to give me examples of what's happening. No one really gave any good examples. Because most of these examples are at the end of the game. There is a surprising amount of, oh yeah, this is definitely woke. But what Kingdom Deliverance 2 really is not a woke game. It's blatant propaganda. And if you have finished the game, tips hat.
Recommend it to everybody. This, for RPG fans, is one of those rare moments of an evolution within a genre that we just do not see reflected anywhere.
Like, at the end of Kingdom Come Deliverance, it is not a role-playing game. It doesn't give you options. Congratulations, you are now what you were not previously, and now you have to do for the good of everyone else. Otherwise, no chances. It is pretty insane. It is literally propaganda. Like, damn.
Where else in the industry? It's the dream game that many of us have been hoping for. And it's a game that the rest of the industry refuses to make. Not because it's too risky, but because it's too real. This isn't a wake-up call. We're past that. No. This is simply what games should be. So today what I want to do is I want to walk you guys through an experience and share with you what makes a game special, but more than anything, I want to talk about what we've lost. But you should lose that chair with today's sponsor.
Not today.
Just a heads up, this video does contain spoilers for KCD 1 and KCD 2. I think it's important to recognize that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 isn't the product of some multi-billion-dollar publisher or a studio with thousands of developers spread across multiple continents.
Actually, technically, it is a product of a Embracer Group bought Kingdom Come Deliverance Warhorse Studio. And that's $1 billion company, by the way.
It was made by Warhorse Studio, a mid-sized team based in Czech Republic. They're not working with the same kind of budgets that Ubisoft or EA throw around. They made the game for a measly $36 million. They don't have the marketing machine of CD Projekt Red or the global reach of Rockstar, and yet they delivered a game that doesn't just compete with the biggest RPGs in the market, it flat out outclasses them in areas that matter the most. Depth, immersion, consistency, and above all, heart. There's no cynical monetization model here, no content bloat to inflate playtime, no focus tested design to make sure it appeals to everyone. Warhorse committed to a vision, something historical, grounded, brutally unforgiving, and full of life. It's not that they
Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is not grounded in history a lot, okay? In fact, not at all. The first game was kind of grounded in history, as much as I understand, but the second game is not. It's just not. This is a blatant lie. It takes historic facts and twists it in, well, whatever direction it feels like.
they just made a great RPG. It's that they made this RPG under the constraints that would break most teams, limited budget, a small dev team, a niche historical setting with no fantasy flair, a refusal to compromise their design for mass
They did not refuse to.
appeal, and they still managed to push the genre forward in a way that many AAA studios haven't dared to in years. I don't think that I'm alone when I say that most modern RPGs don't live up to the experience that we're looking for. The mechanics that we associate with the genre, experience points, leveling, passive perks, character building, loot, classes, they've all become fluff rather than the foundational systems that are necessary for these games.
Was this the one that's autistic and then she drugs and odds you? Because that's a thing that happens in this game, by the way.
Games to give us what we want. They're there, sure, but they rarely mean anything anymore. They're just there to give you the illusion of progress more than anything else. Recently,
that's if you refuse to sleep with her, but if you do willingly, she calls you bad.
I criticize Assassin's Creed Shadows for exactly this. It's the perfect example. The loot, the skill trees, the levels, they don't change how you experience the game. The enemies might have a bigger number next to their name. Your character might get fancier gear, but nothing actually feels different. You play the game the same way that you would at hour 1, that you would at hour 60. It's all smoke and mirrors. Let's be honest. Most RPGs today are just thinly veiled power fantasies more than anything.
True. This is what I don't like a lot about the Blizzard games nowadays, about a lot of things. This is a very, very true point. It's the fact that a lot of gear, a lot of systems are just, hey, put point here, deal 5% more Tuesday damage. Did this game even have days? No. So, is this arbitrary? Yes. And it's just smoke and mirrors, and some people don't even notice it.
Else. You're the destined hero with a prophecy stapled to your forehead. The world bends to you, not because you earned it, but because the script says so. There's no real arc to your character's growth, no tangible evolution in how your character interacts with the world. You're powerful because the game says you are. Kingdom Come Deliverance doesn't just understand what an RPG is supposed to be, it commits to it. It captures the soul of the genre both narratively and mechanically. You are Henry, son of a blacksmith, no combat training outside of the occasional tavern scrap, no knowledge of the world outside of your village, no real skills.
Oh, you're not the son of a blacksmith, by the way. You're a son of... I can't even say it.
Outside of the chores that you did at home, your life was simple, and then it wasn't. You were thrust into life-altering events, and you have nothing to your name. No money, no power, no direction, and everything you do from that point on, you earn. Most RPGs put you on rails. Even the ones that market themselves as open world games are afraid to let go of your hand. They scale enemy levels. They lock off progression areas because you're not ready for it yet. They do everything they can to make sure that you have a smooth and painless ride because they don't respect their audience. They don't trust their audience. They think players want to feel like a hero right out of the gate. Kingdom Come does not give a damn.
Yeah, I mean, haven't we been through this conversation so many times? This was one of the big World of Warcraft conversations back in the day. It was the fact that, well, you're no longer the dude doing dude things. Now you're the champion of fucking the universe and shit. And why? Because reasons. That's why. That's lame. That's lame. We want character progression.
About that. The entire world is out of your league. You're not the chosen one. You're not special. You're a nobody. And the game treats you like one. At the start, you can't just grab a sword and run off killing bandits. You can't just stroll into towns, loot houses, murder NPCs, and cheese your way through systems. I mean, you can at some point, but you still have to earn the right
Oh, you can.
to be able to do those things. You're going to barely survive running away from a pack of wolves. You're going to get killed by a lone bandit on the road. You're going to steal food because you're starving. You'll sneak into a barn and sleep on some hay just to be able to survive the night. And then you're probably going to get arrested for doing all those things, which is only going to make things worse. But through those failures, those very human, messy, and frustrating failures, you'll grow. Kingdom Come adopts the Bethesda-esque learning by doing system. Every step you take, every lock you pick, every sword
Bethesda maybe did this a little bit in the past, but no longer, my dudes.
you swing,
Sad.
every injury you take, it all is building your skills. But it goes deeper than that because of how brutal 15th century Bohemia is and how green Henry is as a character. You are going to grow alongside him. The learning here isn't abstract, it's personal. When you're brewing potions, you're not just pressing a button and watching a bar fill. You're not instantly crafting items off of a crafting table or vendor. You're pouring the water, you're grinding the herbs, you're boiling the ingredients, timing everything to make sure you don't ruin.
Well, actually, this gets pretty annoying. People have said pretty fast. It's a cool thing that you can do at the start, but I mean, it gets really annoying.
In the batch, you're collecting fresh herbs to make sure because what quality matters. You're not just crafting for a bonus, you're crafting to survive. Combat is totally unforgiving. You need to memorize combos, time parries, blocks, and dodges perfectly. You have to think about the strengths and weaknesses of the weapon type that you're using versus the enemy that's in front of you. You have to think about where you're the most protected and where the enemy is the least protected. If their wrists are exposed, go for those. If they're wearing a helmet or they're not wearing a helmet, then go for the eyes. I still remember the first time sword fighting clicked. I wasn't flailing, I wasn't panicking, I was in control. I was reading my opponent, managing my stamina, landing counters, not perfectly, but confidently to say the least. And it wasn't because my stats had gone up, it was because I had grown as a player. Hours of sparring with sword masters, trial and error.
Oh, that feeling is good, okay? I'm currently playing Tainted Grail to Fall Foul on, which is the Bethesda game, by the way, that no one is talking about. And that shit, dude, it's been a long time since I actually was afraid to go into combat in any game, because in that game, dude, listen, I'll tell you a couple of great examples of why these systems where you're actually afraid of going in combat, or you know that you could get killed easily, are absolutely amazing. And it's and I'll give you an example from Tainted Grail. So, the first big place that you're supposed to go, a keep, if you go to it, at an unsuspicious corner, there's this guy sitting, and you can probably tell, man, this guy has some good gear. Let's talk to him. What is he talking about? He calls you a piece of shit and says your life's miserable, which is technically extremely true, by the way. And then he says, well, I can do one kindness for you. I can kill you in a duel if you want. And I'm like, I literally just got this frost skill that allows me to stun lock enemies to a certain degree. I'm feeling confident. And then I'm like, let's go, buddy. Let's go. I died in 0.2 seconds. He just fucking gift me. Yeah, that was wild. And there's a bunch of experiences like that in that game. Like, go into the graveyard, and you don't see anything. There's mist everywhere, but you see you see the compass, and the compass tells you that there's enemies all around you. And if you get overwhelmed in that game, you're dying. It's such a great situation of I don't actually want to fight because I'm gonna die. It's amazing when games do these things. It's chef's kiss.
And losing duels, licking my wounds, it all led to this.
And that there are ways to overcome it with skill when you get better and you understand better how to do things. It feels so good. It feels rewarding, okay?
One sword fight where I finally felt like a swordsman. That's what an RPG is supposed to feel like. And that same philosophy extends to every part of the game. Passive skills aren't just flashy finishers and game-breaking perks. They're subtle enhancements that require you to capitalize on them. Sure, you can unlock a trait that gives you an attack bonus when you're outnumbered, but you still have to parry, dodge, and swing with precision. An alchemy perk might give you slightly better yields, but you still have to physically craft those potions. This is not a numbers go up system. It's a player get better system. and it's phenomenal. I love that everything I do matters. I love that every action ripples throughout the entire game, not just through dialogue choices or morality sliders, but through tiny, persistent systems that all interlock beautifully together. At one point, I was investigating a murder. I needed to infiltrate a suspect's home. I had convinced the guard I was a healer. Now, how did I do that? Well, it's because I recited scripts from a medical text that I had read 15 hours earlier in my playthrough, a book that I had stolen on a completely unrelated quest. And I only found that book because I had the lockpicking skills to open that chest and the stealth to avoid any detection. That moment wasn't scripted. It was earned organically, accidentally, and beautifully earned. Kingdom Come is abrasive. It doesn't care about coddling you because it wants to leave a mark. It wants to scar you. Every victory feels like the result of real effort. You begin your journey barely even
Stabbing someone in the throat is one hell of a spot.
able to find food or survive a wolf attack, and you end it by dueling master swordsmen, winning tournaments, going to war, and earning the respect.
By the way, the combat here is a little bit cheap. I'm not gonna lie, boys. Okay, what's it called? The thing that you need to just do: learn the perfect parry or something like that, and it just one taps every enemy. Not even hard.
Respective nobles. But no matter how many skill points you unlock, no matter what loot you carry, the real reward is what you've learned, what you've earned. You are what changes, not just the character sheet. It's that struggle that grounds you. It ties your sense of progression not to just numbers on a screen, but to a journey. It's one full of mistakes, setbacks, and tiny victories. That sense of immersion that doesn't come from beautiful graphics or formulaic design. It comes from knowing that you had to live through it to get where you are. Not many games can dial you in like this. Everything you do is with intent and purpose, and then it cascades throughout the entire game. Experience isn't just a number, it's a journey. And I realize not every single game needs to be like this. They can't be like this. If they were,
I mean, they should be like this because it's awesome.
then, well, gaming would be exhausting more than anything else. But the vast majority of the industry wouldn't even try to do any of these things. It would never deign upon them to try to do any of these things because they're so afraid they would limit the size of their audience. So they take something that should be an immersive experience and they streamline it to suit a modern audience, a broader audience. That sucks. Simple as that. That sucks. I have limited time and limited money, and I want games that I'll remember. I want games that are going to leave a mark on me. I want games that I'm going to want to come back to. But this industry is so obsessed with throwaway experiences, consumable games, hundreds of hours of nothing you'll ever remember. I hate it.
Good times.
You know, I hated Kingdom Come Deliverance when I first started playing it. I hated being weak. I hated struggling. I hated getting caught trying to steal when I was trying to make my way up the ladder, trying to...
He's lying. This is a part of a script.
To get some better gear or something like that. Just a couple groschen here or there. And ultimately selling the things that I stole in the same city that I stole them in, which is probably not the best idea for me to do. I didn't realize the game was that reactive, that they would know that, yeah, hey, we know whose shit that is. But I almost quit. The game almost filtered me, but the longer I stuck with it, the more I realized what it was trying to do. It was trying to set me on a journey.
Are the games that filter you early the best? I think they may be, actually. Because games that filter you, what do? They show you what the core experience of a game is going to be, and they show it to you fast, okay? It's like in the first 30 minutes, this is going to happen, and you have to do this because the whole game is literally just doing this. And, well, if you like it, then congratulations, you're going to have a great experience. If you don't like it, congratulations, you got filtered.
And the minute that I realized that, it's the minute that I realized this is exactly what I was hoping games could become. It brought back that old feeling of what games could be or what they should be. And what's wild is that same sense of slow earned progression throughout the entire game is then reflected directly onto the game's world, its characters, and its narrative. They didn't just make the mechanics, realize they nailed it, and phone the rest home like we've seen more times than I can count at this point.
Makes sense.
They made sure that that philosophy was in the entire game from start to finish. And it's beautiful. And you know what's even more beautiful?
It's not. Did this guy finish the game? Again. Most people... Well, okay, there is this thing. Okay, there is this small thing. People who start the game and finish the game are typically in love with the game. That is very commonplace, right? Most people, I think, can easily reflect and understand that. And if you're finishing the game, considering you like it so much, you're not gonna notice if the game just gets worse or takes a sharp turn somewhere around the end. Because Kingdom Come Deliverance is, how long is this game? 50 hours? You're supposed to play it for like 50 hours or something. That's a lot. If you make it to the end, you're probably not exactly actually being objective towards the end portion because you just like it so much. Plus, you're near the end, so you want to see how it ends. Again, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 at the end is not even close to the game you started playing.
This game doesn't include the one thing that I hate the most: modern writing. One of the most common criticisms that I've had for modern games is how restricted and artificial the writing feels. It's just not real. The dialogue feels.
Bruh, I'm afraid to talk about this. I don't want to talk about the story at the end of the game. YouTube's not gonna like it. I can't.
Like it's been filtered through
Shit, go watch someone play the end of this game.
social media or HR. Like they're
It is literally pandering.
trying to tie their game to a trend rather than build a believable world. And when their writers do try to tackle bigger themes, they usually inject modern social commentary into places where it just doesn't belong. Take Dragon Age the Veilguard as an example. That game felt like a socially awkward millennial isekai titled "I'm a loser in another world surrounded by other losers and a whiny lizard person." The dialogue constantly leaned on modern slang and surface level social issues in a setting that already had rich established lore. It felt completely fake. It didn't matter what world I was supposed to be in because every conversation just yanked me right back to my own. Talent, tone, nuance, social awareness, these things are dying in modern game narratives today. Characters don't feel real anymore because the people that are
God, I hate every second of this bad, shitty Dragon Age Railguard dialogue. I'm not gonna lie, it's so bad.
writing them don't know how to connect with real people. Years of living in online echo chambers have warped how some of these writers think people actually talk to one another, and it shows. Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2 have some of the strongest writing that I've ever experienced in any RPG, right up there with Baldur's Gate 3, and honestly, in some ways, it's even stronger. What makes it stand out isn't the historical accuracy or the period-specific dialogue, it's the fact that the game just feels completely unafraid to be itself. There's no pressure to modernize the language or insert modern ideologies. It's raw, grounded, and entirely unfiltered. Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2 feel like they're from another era, not just in setting, but in spirit. And that's the biggest revelation I had when I was playing these games is that, most modern writing and language just doesn't feel honest. And in games, language is everything. And I think a lot of writers have lost sight of that. It's how we understand characters. It's what makes a world feel alive instead of generic. Get the language wrong and the whole thing falls apart. From my perspective, language is the bridge between the player and the world. It's how we're invited in or how we're kept at arm's length. When it's done right, it draws you in closer, makes you believe in the characters that you're talking to, makes you feel like you're a part of their world. But when it's clumsy or out of place or hollow, it just becomes a barrier. Suddenly, you're no longer talking to a tavern owner in 15th
She's gonna odd you, dude! No, again, seriously.
century Bohemia.
That's not a joke.
You're listening to a modern day writer tell you what to think. It breaks the illusion. The spell is gone. Great writing doesn't just come from conveying information. It sets the tone, builds the culture, defines relationships, and it gives a voice to people who don't even have a backstory, and it makes them feel real. When Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 opens up, Henry and Hans are galloping through the countryside, cracking jokes, taking jabs at one another, excited to be striking out on their own. It's the kind of scene that just works, not because it's flashy or dramatic, but because it feels like it's two people who actually know each other. The inside jokes, the camaraderie, it's all there. It feels familiar, not because of the journey that you shared, but because you could easily see this reflected in the friendships you personally have. You don't get that kind of authenticity when your idea of relatable is just tossing out the occasional shit or damn for shock value. See, kids, we use curse words, just like in real life. I stepped into a sparring match with Sir Hans without equipping a sword, and he said, "What do you think we're gonna do, fight with our cocks?" I was dying when I heard that. It sounded exactly like some goofy quip that I would hear at the bar with my friends, and it stuck with me. Later on, I went on a quest to hunt a serial killer. Catherine delivers one of the best pieces of voice acting and motion capture I've ever seen in a video game.
I have to talk to him about our wedding. I won't be left alone with his child.
What are you screeching about, you ninny? There's no Hendel here. Certainly not for the likes of you.
Do you hear that, folks. He fucks me from all sides. Gets me with child, and now he doesn't want to know me.
Get rid of her. Disgrace. You're too old for him. Nobody will believe your lies.
Old am I? He came to me himself because he wanted a mature woman to breed with. And he never
Breed
even
with,
pulled it
damn.
out. And he filled me up like a wineskin.
This kind of dialogue, this mix of grit, wit, and personality, it's all but gone in modern games. It's too honest, too real, too human more than anything else, and it makes you realize just how rare it is to
Women are insane. Big true, by the way.
see people in games talking like people again, not some corporate-approved safe version of people, not some sanitized, inoffensive version, just real, flawed, grounded characters.
Again, it sounds to me like he has not played the end of this game. Anyway, that was Legendary Drops. 10 out of 10. Kingdom Come Deliverance, still questionable game. Not gonna lie. Bye.